With every successful directory lies opportunities to break a piece off and see if there are any sub-niche directories that you can go build so that you can basically use this proven concept that's already getting tons of traffic and build a mini version for yourself. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. I love to find profitable directories that people have pretty much never heard of. So in this segment, I am going to be looking at 3 different directories, all of which are pretty broad niches. They've found a way to dominate their own space on the internet. And we'll be looking at the website's SEO, what keywords they're ranking for, how much monthly traffic they're getting, as well as the monetization model that they are using to make money off their directory. But I also want to add this layer of how do we use this information, how do we use this research to inspire smaller sub-niches that we can go and build. Now, I like this idea because one of the things I look for the most whenever I'm looking for new directory ideas is I look for a bounty. I look for an existing website that's already successful, and then I use that as kind of a benchmark for me to go and explore other niches that are similar to it, maybe adjacent to it, or even the same niche, but just drilling down deeper into a specific keyword that I can build an entire website directory around. I am a firm believer there are thousands upon thousands of amazing niches that are really hidden underneath layers and layers of these larger umbrella categories. So hopefully this will give you some inspiration, and if you do build something that I mentioned in this video, please let me know. So the first profitable directory on the list is movielocations.com. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a directory that helps people find where films were shot. I love this niche already because the idea of movie locations is very evergreen. You always have these legacy, these famous movie titles that are always going to be watched regardless of when you're born. Now, right off the bat, we can tell there are tons of ads on this website, and they are scattered on the header as well as this area right here. Looks like it may be Google AdSense. They make it really simple. You can just find a film, explore a location, or check out a favorite actor or director. Let's just go ahead and click around here, find a film. Okay, very simple A through Z navigation. Let's just click on this, and we have all these film titles starting with the letter A. I'll just type Alien. So not that much content. If we scroll down, it's literally just these 3 paragraphs right here, and that is it. And then we have a comment section. One thing to take note of is they definitely have their internal links on point. They have all of these links here. Ridley Scott, I'm assuming, is the film director, so if we click on that, we can see all the movies and films that Ridley Scott has directed. So functionally, this is a stupid simple directory, and I love these types of directories. It kind of reminds me of my first directory that is doing pretty well, and it is in a lot of ways like this simple. I think a lot of people tend to overcomplicate their directories depending on the niche, of course, but not all directories have to be these really complicated, advanced, designs. As you can see, if we look at the traffic, this website's getting 60,000 monthly visitors, and it is ranking for 37,000 keywords. And we do have this very steady traffic graph where it's just consistently in the 50s and 60,000s for monthly visitors. This directory is very stable, and I would love to own a directory like this. There are a ton of backlinks, very nice. We do have Wikipedia, and this Wikipedia page for the Joker 2019 film gets 398,000 monthly visitors to that page. Not too many link domains as well, so they're one of 181 backlinks on this page. So that is a great backlink, and we start to see it over and over again. Oh yeah, this is for a bunch of different films. I mean, good for them. That is amazing. So we do see a majority of tier 1 traffic, which is amazing for your display ad revenue. One thing that I found interesting about this one was that if you look at the top pages here, I noticed there were only 2,200 index pages, which, if you just think about the sheer number of movies and films that you could go and build a directory around, this is not that much. And I think looking at this immediately gives me the vibe that there is opportunity out there if you wanted to do something similar and cover all the other movies that aren't on this website. With that said, I'm sure there are pretty much a small percentage of films that get a ton of traffic and search volume every single month. So it is probably good to cherry pick the films that you are going to include in your directory if you're going to do this. But let's just look a little bit deeper here. We do have Wicked coming in as the 2nd most trafficked page with 2,400 monthly visitors. And it makes sense. I've been seeing Wicked everywhere. Let's just take a look at what people are landing on. This is actually more of a filled out article, which is pretty good. And we do have UGC at the very bottom. Great sign. Pretty recent too, 3 weeks ago. So this is an amazing sign from a user signal point of view, which definitely, in my opinion, helps SEO a lot. Look at this sentence here. It says the location wasn't too far from where the void for Deadpool and Wolverine was filmed. Just take a note of this because there's a couple things that I think are notable about the way they did this. First, they have a very natural and relevant placement when it comes to the internal link, right? They tie it to another very popular movie. And the anchor text is an exact match phrase for a keyword that probably gets a lot of search volume, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. So overall, this looks like, okay, whatever, like they just did an internal link, but they did it correctly. And I think it's easy to internal link when you have location-based niches, right? It's just proximity-based. If I'm looking at movie locations in Los Angeles, I'll just internally link to Long Beach, Pasadena, San Diego, all these other cities in the area. But for something like movie locations, this is a very smart way to execute an internal linking strategy that is very naturally placed, and it's just done subtly but gracefully. We also have Jurassic Park, we have Fast and Furious. These are not new movies. They've been around, they're loved by millions of people, so it makes sense that they're still able to get thousands of monthly visitors just by talking about where these were filmed. And I think when you choose the right niche, you can get away with really simple listings. I mean, if you look at this Jurassic Park one, they just have an H1, which is the name of the movie and the year, as we can see right here. They just have the text, they have some images, which is solid, the internal linking, but that's pretty much it. There's no other headings, there's nothing fancy going on here, and this page is still ranking for 317 keywords. So where was Jurassic Park filmed? 6,500 monthly searches for that keyword. And then we have a bunch of other similar keywords that are basically like the same search intent. Now let's take a look at some of the organic keywords. 44,000 keywords that they're ranking for, which is very impressive for just having 2,200 indexed pages. There we have where was Wicked filmed? 26,000 monthly searches for that keyword. And a lot of these are pretty low competition in terms of keyword difficulty. Another thing that's interesting is that some of these keywords they're ranking at the end of the first page for. For example, where was Conclave filmed? They're ranked number 8, which is pretty much the end of the first page, maybe even the second page on mobile. And this is still bringing in 239 monthly visits. It's really not common to see a website that's ranking 8th to be still getting this much traffic, which may tell us that the search intent here and the types of people who are looking up this information are really going deep. They're really going to the second page or the end of the first page to learn as much as they can around where a certain location was filmed. This is great news for people like us because if we were to go and build a competing directory and just cover all sorts of movie locations, we're seeing proof that we don't have to be on the top of the first page to earn monthly visits. So even if we were on the second page or end of the first page, we would basically be getting these results. So I feel like there is an opportunity here to basically build out a competing directory to this. And don't forget there's future films, remakes, TV shows. There are different angles that you can be, creating a directory around that could be really promising. So this is pretty great news for small fries like us. Now, real quick, I am curious to see what backlinks they have that are not Wikipedia. And just look at these backlinks. There's even fandoms. That's another angle. That's another backlink strategy that you could go and execute if you were to go create a competing directory. Go to the fan-based websites out there. And here we see it again, Batman fandom. This is a DR92. Referring page gets 1,200 monthly visits. So very solid backlink strategy. I don't think it would be too hard if you just reached out and followed up, maybe paid them for a niche edit of sorts or any kind of link swap. I think those could be viable plays. Now, in terms of how much I think they're making at 60,000 monthly visitors, they could be making as low as $2,000 a month. And I think that's a very, very conservative guess, but they do have a ton of ad placements here. But I think it's realistic to estimate around $4,000, $5,000 even, completely passive income from ads. So the second directory is one that I found when my friend and I were hanging out, and he was telling me that he went to Japan to visit the cherry blossoms. And you can see that it is obviously not just my friend. This is their homepage, and Cherry Blossoms 2025 is right here. This directory is around all things Japan related. It's called japanguide.com, and you can see all the different topics that they cover here. And then we have this kind of clickable map, which is really nice. We do have the display ads here, and you do have the option to book a trip. So I would be willing to bet they have some affiliate plays where they're partnered up with certain hotels. But just a quick glance at their homepage, they do have a lot going on. In my opinion, a very thorough and well-built directory. Not something you can whip up in a day. Let's just click on Kyoto because I enjoyed my time there. URL is a little bit interesting. I don't know why they are not putting Kyoto in the slug here. They just have one word as what I expect to be their H1. Yes, it is, which is pretty broad. I mean, Kyoto's got to be an insanely difficult keyword to rank for, so that's interesting they chose that. But the actual page itself is looking quite nice, I will say. Okay, they have their own YouTube channel, Japan Guide, with 300,000 subscribers. Okay, so this is an amazing example of differentiated content. These must be the individual listing pages for different areas in Kyoto. So if we click on this, okay, this is the listing page. So in that case, Kyoto was the location page. This is the listing page. And this is thorough. I mean, look at this page. All sorts of internal links that are relevant to this location. And I feel like they are making a good amount of money from this because they're definitely plugging this call to action to book your trip in quite a few places. This sidebar is very clean for internal linking. I would take a chapter out of this book because this is very nice. First impressions, amazing. And let's take a look at the traffic here. This website gets 502,000 monthly visits. So I think that's earned looking at just the few pages that we were looking at. 152,000 keywords and 1.5 million backlinks. Very strong, resilient, consistent traffic chart here, hovering around the high 400,000s to up to 600,000 monthly visits. Let's take a look at their organic keywords. 182,000 keywords. They are ranking for some monstrous, very broad keywords. Japanese food, rank 3. They're ranking for Japan. Just insane. This is obviously very well trusted in Google's eyes. Now let's take a look at their top pages. So they have 20,000 index pages, which for how much data enrichment and how in-depth they went for every single one of their listings, that's a large directory. If it was just a very simple listing like the movie locations directory, then that's kind of whatever. Let's look at their top traffic page here. This is Japanese food. And this is essentially like the location page version before the food niche. First thing I'm noticing off the bat, look how consistent the traffic is. The fact that this is very consistent is a sign of resiliency, and they are obviously offering value with every single one of these pages. I think this is the first directory I've ever looked at where the home page is the 9th most visited page. That's just extremely uncommon. With their second most traffic page, we can see that this is covering a very famous tourist attraction. I remember going to this myself, and it is ranking for 4,200 keywords here. I mean, come on, like rank 1 for all of these high keyword difficulty pages. They definitely earned it. This is very thorough. I would assume they took their own photos too. Like, this is not just stock imagery. This is probably taken by someone on the team. I would not be surprised if this same directory was around 10 years later because of just how much value is packed in one space. I asked ChatGPT, and it's a little bit unclear how much they may be making in revenue. They obviously have the display ads. They have the YouTube channel, which is definitely getting a lot of viewership here. They also have affiliates with different tourist companies, as we mentioned with this area here. So if we were just to click on this here, there should be some kind of referral ID. So according to ChatGPT, this section of this URL is the referral ID. So definitely getting a cut anytime someone books through japanguide.com. I would assume that's probably the most lucrative monetization strategy that they have. The thing with the travel niche is that it gives one of the best RPMs for display ad revenue. So usually I just use my own website as a benchmark. If I were to use my numbers, which are definitely lower than the travel niche, at 500,000 monthly visits, they would be earning like a conservative $12,000 a month from display ads only. It's also kind of difficult with not all the traffic coming from tier 1 countries. Now with the affiliate play with the hotels and the flights, it's really honestly impossible to guess, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it was pushing them past like the few $1 million a year revenue mark. They obviously have a fan base with their YouTube channel and they're getting tons of organic traffic. I don't see how this isn't at least $1 million a year revenue directory. I think it's probably closer to like 3 to 5 million. Now the question is, can we actually take a very established directory like this and get some ideas so that we can create smaller sub niche directories under the same kind of topic. So we can check that by just going over to organic keywords, and I'm just gonna look up keywords that they're ranking for between 0 and 20. So we do have a ton of different keywords, over 138,000 keywords. So there's a lot, but at the same time, they are kind of dominating the space here. They're rank 1 for a lot of these keywords. But with that said, I still think it could be worth it, because as you're starting to see, you can be second place, third place, fifth place in terms of your directory niche and still earn a good amount of traffic. There definitely are some keywords here that are high search volume where Japan Guide is not ranking on the first page. When I'm looking at these, I just don't think I would ever build a directory in these, just because they're too broad and the user intent is not very clear. Like, what are people typing in bamboo garden really looking for? Are they looking for a bamboo garden in Japan, or are they looking to grow a bamboo garden in their backyard or buy bamboos? Like, is there a bamboo garden restaurant? I don't know what the user intent is here. That's not specific enough to warrant me to go and spend time, money, and resources building a directory out for that keyword. Best time to visit Japan, that's not bad. I just don't think you would have a really high return visitor rate. I think people who look up best time to visit Japan are just getting quick information and then they're just going to bounce. I think if we spent more time looking at all these keywords, it could inspire some ideas. But maybe the angle with this isn't to take something like a guide to tour Japan, but it's to look at these keywords like Japanese flowers, 15,000 monthly searches. Is there a Japanese flower directory you can go build and then just go deep with that? But as far as creating a directory for the same topic, which is helping people guide through Japan, I would not do that because I don't think I could win. So the last directory here is carpart.com. Classic, ugly, old looking directory that of course gets, a ton of traffic, 376,000 monthly visitors. I found this niche because I was looking at junkyards near me. I thought it was really promising in terms of potential directory idea, and I did more research. And people who look for junkyards, a good majority of them, or a good amount of them, are looking for used car parts. And this is where I found this directory. So it's not a junkyard, it's just a directory to connect people looking for certain car parts. Let's just explore this a little bit more before the analytics. And we can choose the different views, I guess, under the hood. As someone who is not like an expert at cars, what am I saying? I don't know cars. I don't know how to fix my car. This is really nice. Recycler services. We can help you sell parts, buy parts. They have webinars as well. And I wonder if this is a paid webinar. Bidmate salvage buying tool. So is this a software? Okay, so yeah, this is a software that they own, Bidmate. And it is for inventory, auctions, something along those lines. Checkmate by carpart.com looks like another software that they have developed. The management system that helps you run your business. Interesting. I can't even learn about the pricing though. I have to contact a sales rep. I would assume these are the same. Smart list, optimized sales of hot selling parts. This is what Greg Eisenberg was telling me on the podcast, which is he thinks that directories are being monetized completely backwards. And this is what he meant when he said that directories are amazing top of funnel for SaaS products, which this is a great example. They have like 4 or 5 different SaaS products. Okay, yeah, maybe all of these are different software products that they have. This is kind of a behemoth. It's very unsuspecting because when you look at this, you're like, oh, that's cute. You can look up any data around used car parts. Just being able to offer this database is already massive utility, but they have leveraged this traffic in such a way that this has got to be a very, very profitable directory. So they're crushing it, getting a ton of traffic, 92,000 keywords, 104,000 backlinks, but we do see there's only 3,300 referring domains. So they're obviously getting multiple backlinks per referring domain. Carpart.com, interesting. This is the same domain, but without the dash. So I wonder if they own this as well. We do not carry or sell used car parts. If you were searching for body parts, you have reached us by mistake. You may have been searching for the website car-part.com. Please note that this site is not affiliated with us. They just got a backlink because so many people were going to this website that they had to basically give you a notice that, hey, you're in the wrong area. It's not the strongest backlink, DR12, but it's obviously getting a lot of traffic. Looking at the traffic here, very consistent as well as the last 2 directories. Majority traffic coming from the US. Looking at the top pages, 96 indexed pages, but I would assume that the database is not indexed at all. This might be the most successful directory I've ever seen with the least amount of index pages. Let's look at some of the keywords that they're ranking for. 420,000. Look under the keyword difficulty column and look how much red there is. They are dominating some of the most competitive keywords in the world. I mean, there's a little bit of yellow, but these are all very competitive keywords. I'm just gonna say it right now, I wouldn't compete with this. I wouldn't even try. I think they low-key have a monopoly on the used car part category on the internet, so I wouldn't even try. And that's just the truth. So I asked ChatGPT how much car part is making in revenue. They estimate it to be $43 million in annual revenue. I'm just gonna go ahead and trust them. You know, it's impossible to know how much they're bringing in from their software products. I think this was my favorite episode of Profitable Directories You've Never Heard Of because each of them were so unique. Some of them presented opportunities for people like us building kind of smaller directories, and others are just like monetizing in such smart ways. Yeah, I love the car part one. I think it's just such a good role model directory to have. Hopefully you enjoyed this and got some ideas, maybe some inspiration. With that, I'll see you in a future video. Thanks so much for watching. Always grateful for your support, and I will catch you later. See ya.